My wife, Willow, never thought it would come to this. She just missed our daughter's birthday again, using the same old excuse, busy with work. And by then, I had already drafted the divorce agreement. She looked at me, totally confused. Just because I was a little late this time? But she had long forgotten how many times she'd broken her promises. Last month, she missed my birthday, even after swearing she'd come home on time. Last week, our daughter had a fever, and she wasn't there to take care of her. The day before yesterday, she skipped the parent-teacher meeting. And this time, she had sworn, no matter what, she wouldn't be late. What she really didn't expect was this. While I was out with our daughter buying her birthday cake, I accidentally saw what Willow called working overtime. She was actually having a candlelight dinner with another man. Willow thought I wouldn't dare let go of our 7-year relationship. Thought I couldn't stand the idea of our child growing up without a mother. But when my career took a hit, my marriage collapsed, and I watched my 5-year-old daughter break down in tears, screaming that she didn't want her anymore. That was the moment I made up my mind for good. And yet, after my daughter and I walked away, Willow suddenly regretted everything. She was even willing to give up her career and her future just to win us back. Chapter 1. The lights in the financial news department were still on. Willow rubbed her sore eyes. The bottom right corner of her computer screen showed the time, 1948. She shot to her feet, accidentally knocking over the coffee cup beside her. "Damn it," she muttered, scrambling to save the documents on her desk. The brown liquid had already soaked through the top report, a financial statement analysis. Today is my birthday, she reminded herself. She had promised she'd go home on time this time. Last week, Daisy had a fever and she wasn't there. The day before yesterday, she missed the parent-teacher meeting again. This time, she had sworn, no matter what, she would not be late. Her phone vibrated. Editor-in-Chief Dorian. "Willow, we just got word. The central bank might adjust the reserve requirement ratio tonight. We need instant analysis. You're the most familiar with this area. Can you?" She replied quickly, "Editor-in-Chief Dorian, today is my husband's birthday." "Already?" Dorian cut her off, his tone leaving zero room for negotiation. "I know this puts you in a tough spot, but the finance channel specifically asked for you. This is a huge opportunity. Half an hour, maybe an hour at most. Everyone knows how capable you are. If this report goes well, next month's chief financial reporter position." Her fingers tapped the desk unconsciously. Chief financial reporter. The position she'd been grinding for over the past 3 years. "I understand," she said finally. "I'll start right away." She hung up and quickly dialed home. The phone rang for a long time before I picked up. In the background were Daisy's giggles and the sound of oil sizzling in the pan. "Hello." She hesitated. "George, I suddenly have an urgent piece of news to handle. You two go ahead and eat. Don't wait for me. I'll be back as soon as I can." I stayed silent for 2 seconds. When I spoke, my voice was calm, too calm. "All right, go ahead. Don't overwork yourself. Daisy prepared a surprise for you." After hanging up, Willow stared at the screen and forced herself to focus. Her fingers flew across the keyboard. Financial jargon and analysis poured out smoothly, effortlessly. This was her turf, clear, precise, logical. At 22:17, she finally shut down her computer. The finance channel director personally called to praise her timely analysis. She should have been hyped. Instead, she just felt drained as hell. When she opened the door at home, only a dim wall lamp lit the living room. On the dining table were the dishes I'd carefully prepared: sweet and sour ribs, steamed sea bass, braised prawns. All my specialties. All her favorites. They were cold now. A thin layer of white fat had solidified on top. The candles on the cake hadn't been lit. Beside it lay a handmade card from Daisy, crooked handwriting spelling out, "Happy Birthday, Daddy," with a drawing of 3 stick figures, one tiny figure in the middle with pigtails. Willow quietly opened Daisy's bedroom door. Daisy was curled up on her small bed, hugging the teddy bear I'd given her on my birthday last year. Willow leaned down to kiss her daughter's forehead and caught a faint scent of cream. Daisy must have sneaked a bite of the cake. George was always like that. He'd insist on waiting for Mommy, but he could never resist Daisy's begging. The master bedroom door was slightly open. I was lying on my side, back to the door, breathing evenly, already asleep. Willow tiptoed in, grabbed her pajamas, and went to shower. Warm water washed over her tense nerves. It's just another small delay, she told herself. George will understand. He always does. When she came out, towel drying her hair, she noticed a glass of water on the bedside table, just like I prepared for her every single night. She picked it up, then noticed a note tucked underneath. Willow, the cake is in the fridge, the Black Forest one you like. Daisy waited for you for a long time but couldn't stay awake. I have to take her to kindergarten early tomorrow, so I'm turning in too. Happy birthday. 7 years ago today, when you agreed to marry me, that was the best gift you ever gave me. Willow stood there in the dim bedroom, the glass trembling slightly in her hand. Today wasn't just my birthday. It was also our wedding anniversary. She had completely forgotten. Chapter 2. I stared at the code on my computer screen, my temples pounding. I hadn't slept for 32 hours. Caffeine was pumping through my veins, but it did nothing to stop the crushing exhaustion. Director Wong, the server crashed again. The intern, Chris, stood at my office door, his voice shaking. The testing department says if we still can't fix it today. I know. I rubbed my bloodshot eyes and saved the code I just modified. Tell the team to meet in the conference room in 5 minutes. My phone buzzed, a message from Daisy's kindergarten teacher. I checked the time. 16:20, only 10 minutes before pickup. I replied fast, thanks for the reminder. I'll be there on time. In the conference room, 8 engineers with dead-tired faces sat around the long table. I drew a simplified system architecture diagram on the whiteboard, circling the problem modules in red. Chris, recheck the load balancing configs. Dorian, take your team and review the database indexes. Victor, I need you to... My voice stayed steady, like I hadn't been grinding nonstop for over a day. The VP of Technology, David, walked in, face grim. Old Wong, headquarters just called. If the system can't run stably within 3 days, they're considering pausing the project. The room went ice cold. This project was the company's biggest investment of the year, 8 months of blood, sweat, and stress. I understand, I said calmly. We'll deliver a stable version on time. David patted my shoulder and lowered his voice. Everything okay at home? I heard Daisy had a fever a few days ago. She's fine now, I replied briefly, eyes still on the board. Right now, fixing the server is the priority. At 16:50, I grabbed my jacket. I need to pick up my daughter. I'll be back in 2 hours. Call me immediately if anything happens. Director Wong, this bug, a young engineer stopped me. I paused, skimmed the code, and said, wrap this into a standalone function to reduce nested loops. I'll look deeper when I'm back. Outside the kindergarten, Daisy was already waiting with her teacher, pink backpack on. The moment she saw me, she bolted over, pigtails bouncing. Daddy, I drew a family picture today. She pulled out a crayon drawing, 3 crooked figures. This is Daddy. This is Mommy. And this is me. I crouched down and smiled. It's beautiful. Mommy might need to work late tonight, I added gently. So Daddy will have dinner with you, okay? Daisy's face fell instantly. But Mommy said she'd tell me a new story tonight. I stroked her hair softly. Mommy's really busy. Daddy will tell you 2 stories. Deal? At home, I reheated the food while Daisy chatted nonstop about kindergarten. My phone kept buzzing, engineers arguing like crazy in the group chat. I seated Daisy and fired off a few key instructions. She pouted. Daddy, are you even listening? I put my phone down immediately. Of course, you said May brought a new toy, right? After dinner, I bathed Daisy, read her 2 picture books, and waited until she fell asleep. I closed her door gently, then opened my laptop and logged back into the system to keep debugging. At 23:40, I heard the key turn. Willow walked in quietly. Seeing me still working under the desk lamp, she frowned slightly. You're still up. My fingers didn't stop moving. There's a critical bug. I left food in the fridge. Want me to heat it? She dropped her bag and sank onto the sofa. No need. I had a working dinner with President Ito. She rubbed her temples. Today's interview went great. He gave us internal data. Editor-in-Chief Dorian was thrilled. My fingers paused for a split second. President Ito? Makoto Ito? The Bytean tech founder? Yes, Willow said, suddenly energized. He's a real business genius, built a billion-dollar company at 30. He invited me to do an exclusive interview series. I closed my laptop and looked at her. Daisy asked several times today when you were coming home. She drew a family portrait and left it on your desk. A flash of guilt crossed her face. I know I've been neglecting her. But this series is a huge opportunity. Makoto has massive influence. My voice was soft but firm. We agreed last week to balance work and family. Daisy's teacher told me Daisy keeps asking at school, "Does mommy not want me anymore?" Willow's expression changed. The teacher's exaggerating. Daisy knows I love her. Once I finish this series, I'll... It's been 7 years, Willow, I cut in. Ever since you became a financial reporter, it's always, after this report, after this project. Daisy is already 5. She needs her mother, not just photos. Willow shot up. What are you saying? That I shouldn't have a career? You know how hard it is for women in this field. My voice was tired but steady. I know. I've always backed you. I turned down Google because it meant moving to the US. I refused 3 promotions because of travel. I never complained, because I thought our family was worth it. Willow opened her mouth. And for once, had nothing to say. I'm not asking you to give up your career, I continued. I just want you to actually be present while Daisy grows up, even if it's only 1 or 2 days a week. Right then, Willow's phone rang. She glanced at the screen. It's Editor-in-Chief Dorian. I have to take this. I watched quietly as she walked out onto the balcony, her voice instantly bright and energetic while she talked about plans for Makoto's interview series. I gently closed my laptop, packed Daisy's stationery and clothes for the next day, then slipped into the bathroom. Warm water poured over me. I closed my eyes, letting it wash away the dampness gathering at the corners of my eyes. In 7 years of marriage, I'd never doubted my love for Willow, but at that moment, a deep helplessness flooded me like a rising tide. The next morning, like always, I made breakfast and took Daisy to kindergarten. Willow was still asleep. After ending her call, she'd worked straight through till dawn. On the dining table, Daisy's family portrait lay casually beside a stack of documents, already wrinkled. I carefully slid the drawing into my briefcase, then kissed my daughter's rosy cheek. Daddy might be 10 minutes late picking you up today. I have a meeting with your teacher. Be good and listen to her, okay? Daisy nodded, then suddenly asked, Daddy, does mommy like working more than playing with me? A sharp pain twisted in my chest. I crouched down, met her eyes, and said softly, Mommy loves you very, very much. She's just really busy right now, just like Daddy sometimes has to work late too. But that'll never change how much she loves you. Daisy nodded, like she kind of understood. But I felt that familiar sting of helplessness. I knew explanations like this were getting weaker, too weak to even convince a 5-year-old. At the office, I buried myself in work, forcing family worries to the back of my mind. During lunch, an HR colleague walked into the tech department with a woman I didn't recognize. Everyone, this is Anna, our newly hired project consultant. She'll be helping us optimize the product testing process for the next 2 weeks. I looked up. Standing beside HR was a woman around 30, dressed in a simple navy business suit. Her black hair was tied in a neat ponytail, and her sharp eyes were steady and focused. The HR manager added pointedly, Director Wang, Anna has extensive experience in automated testing. She can help us deal with the current stress testing issues. Anna smiled and extended her hand. I've heard a lot about you, Director Wang. Looking forward to working with you. I shook her hand politely. Welcome aboard. I'll send you the project materials this afternoon. I didn't notice that as I walked away, Anna's thoughtful gaze lingered on my tired silhouette for just a second. Chapter 3. I stared at the error message on my screen and pressed my fingers to my temples. 3 straight days of grinding work had blurred my vision, but the system's stability had finally improved a lot. My phone buzzed. Daisy's kindergarten teacher. Mr. Wang, Daisy says she feels dizzy and her temperature is a bit high. Could you come pick her up early? I shut my laptop immediately. I'll be there in 20 minutes. Thank you for telling me. I packed up fast and knocked on the next office door. David, I need to pick up Daisy. She might have a fever. David nodded. Go. We'll deal with the rest tomorrow. He hesitated, then asked, what about Willow? She has an important interview today. I replied while already heading for the elevator. She's busy. At the kindergarten, Daisy was slumped on a tiny chair, her face flushed bright red. I crouched and pressed the back of my hand to her forehead. She was burning up. Sweetheart, we're going to the hospital right now. I lifted her gently. She immediately buried her hot little face into my shoulder. In the car, I started the engine with one hand and called Willow with the other. After 6 rings, it went to voicemail. Willow, Daisy has a high fever. I'm taking her to the children's hospital now. Call me back as soon as you hear this. The ER was packed. Holding Daisy in my arms, I waited 20 minutes just to register. Her temperature climbed to 39.3 degrees Celsius, her small body squirming uncomfortably. Hang in there, sweetheart, I whispered, dialing Willow again. Still nothing. The doctor's initial diagnosis was influenza. He prescribed fever reducers and blood tests. With one arm holding Daisy and the other juggling forms, receipts, and slips, I rushed through the hospital corridors. During the blood draw, Daisy cried so hard it ripped my heart apart. I held her tight, words stuck in my throat. When the test results came out, the doctor's expression turned serious. The white blood cell count is abnormal. It might be a bacterial infection. She needs to be admitted for observation. My head spun. I forced myself to stay calm. Is it serious? We'll start 4 treatment and see how the numbers look tomorrow. As he filled out the orders, he asked, where's the mother? Some forms need a parent's signature. Does that work? I called Willow again. Straight to voicemail. Can I sign? I'm her father. By the time admission was done, it was already 8 at night. Daisy lay on the hospital bed, a tiny 4 taped to the back of her hand, exhausted and asleep. I sat beside her and called Willow again. Nothing. I opened WeChat. Willow had posted 6 hours earlier. Exclusive interview with Baitian tech founder Makoto. Live from tonight's business summit. The photo showed her and a well-dressed man in front of a luxury hotel, champagne glasses raised, smiling like everything was perfect. My thumb hovered over the like button for a few seconds, then I backed out. I dialed another number. Daisy's hospitalized. Yes, influenza with a secondary infection. No, you don't need to come. If the fever doesn't drop tomorrow, we'll talk. Willow's busy with work. I'll call if anything changes. After hanging up, I stared out at the pitch-black sky. Loneliness crashed over me harder than ever before. The room was quiet except for the steady beeping of the monitor and Daisy's faint breathing. A nurse came in to change the 4. She looked at me sympathetically. Do you need to go home to grab some essentials? She won't wake up for a while. I shook my head. No. I'll stay. At 2 in the morning, Daisy's temperature suddenly shot up to 40 degrees Celsius. She started rambling deliriously. The on-duty doctor rushed in and adjusted her meds. I held her burning hand, watching the staff move around us, my heart pounding like crazy. Daddy. Mommy, Daisy murmured, tears slipping from her closed eyes. Mommy will be here soon, sweetheart. I lied, my voice cracking. I called Willow again. Still nothing. When morning light finally crept through the blinds, Daisy's temperature dropped to about 38 degrees Celsius. I hadn't slept at all. My eyes were bloodshot, dark stubble lining my jaw. A nurse brought breakfast porridge. Daisy managed a few spoonfuls before falling asleep again. I chewed on cafeteria buns, barely tasting a thing. At 9, the ward door flew open. Willow rushed in, still wearing last night's gown under a coat. Her makeup was smudged. "How's Daisy?" She hurried to the bed and reached for our daughter's forehead. I stood up fast and grabbed her wrist. "Do you know how many times I called you?" My voice was low, every word tight and cold. Willow froze. She'd never seen this look on my face, the fire in my eyes, my jaw set hard. My phone was on silent. It was in my bag. I didn't hear it. She pulled free, trying to explain. The investors Makoto introduced were important. I couldn't just. Couldn't what? My voice shook. Couldn't answer a call about your sick daughter? Her fever hit 40. The doctor said it could have been sepsis. And you were out drinking champagne with that Ito guy? Lower your voice, Willow hissed, glancing at Daisy. She dragged me into the hallway. How was I supposed to know it was this serious? You take Daisy to the hospital all the time. That's your excuse? I stared at her, stunned. 7 years, Willow. When Daisy had pneumonia and wasn't out of danger, you were rushing a manuscript. When she took her first steps, you were on a business trip. And now she's in a hospital bed while you're networking like nothing's wrong. People nearby started staring. Willow's face burned red. I don't need to be judged here, she snapped. I have a job. Ambitions. A career. What's wrong with that? Nothing, I said, then lowered my voice. What's wrong is that family always comes last. What's wrong is Daisy cried for you last night, and you didn't even pick up. Guilt flashed in her eyes, then vanished under anger. Do you think I want this? Do you know how hard it is for a woman to get respect in financial media? Makoto's chance could put me in direct competition for chief reporter. So that's your choice. My voice went calm, scarily calm. Makoto and your career matter more than Daisy. That's not what I meant. Tears filled her eyes. I just. Go to work then, I said, turning back. Daisy has me. It's been that way for 5 years anyway. Willow stood frozen, watching me disappear into the ward. Her bag vibrated. Editor-in-Chief Dorian. She glanced at the door, then the phone, and answered. When she came back, I was humming softly beside the bed. Daisy was awake, leaning weakly against my chest. Mommy, Daisy's eyes lit up, then she started coughing. Willow rushed over. Baby, Mommy's here. She reached out, but Daisy clutched my shirt tighter. Daisy, let Mommy hold you, I coaxed gently. Daisy shook her head and buried her face against me. I want Daddy. Willow's hand froze in midair. Her heart clenched hard. She forced a smile. Baby, are you mad at Mommy? Mommy's been too busy with work. I'm sorry. I didn't look at her. I just patted Daisy's back. The doctor says we need to observe her for 2 more days. If everything's normal, she can be discharged. I can take leave, Willow said suddenly. I'll stay. I finally looked at her, exhaustion and doubt clear in my eyes. Really? She pulled out her phone. Yeah. I'll message the editor-in-chief right now. For the next 2 days, Willow stayed at the hospital. She still took work calls and answered emails, but most of her time was spent with Daisy. I went home for clothes and urgent stuff, but otherwise stayed too. On the second night, Daisy's temperature finally returned to normal. She lay between us, holding my hand with one tiny fist and Willow's with the other. For the first time in days, she smiled. Can you tell me a story? Daisy asked Willow, eyes bright. Willow glanced at her phone, a message from Makoto. She hesitated, then put the phone away. Okay, she said softly. Mommy will tell you Snow White. Watching her tell the story, the anger inside me finally eased, just a little. Maybe this was a turning point. Maybe Willow was finally starting to get it. After Daisy was discharged and came home, Willow actually adjusted her work schedule. She turned down several evening hangouts and personally picked Daisy up a few times. Laughter came back into the house, and for the first time in ages, there were 3 people sitting at the dinner table again. But I noticed something. Willow's phone was always lighting up. She replied to Makoto's messages insanely fast. And whenever she thought no one was watching, a certain look crossed her face, anticipation, excitement, the same look she used to have only with me. One late night about a week later, I got up to grab some water and noticed the study light was still on. I walked over and saw Willow smiling at her computer screen, fingers flying over the keyboard. On the screen was a video call window, Makoto's handsome face filling half of it. Standing in the shadows of the doorway, I heard Willow say softly, "Thank you so much for understanding. Daisy being sick delayed the interview schedule." "Don't worry," Makoto's voice came through the speakers. "A talented and beautiful woman like you deserves a bigger stage. That vice president position at Baitian Media I mentioned, it's still reserved for you." I quietly backed away into the dark hallway. Back in the bedroom, I lay on the bed staring at the ceiling, and for the first time, I seriously asked myself a question I'd never dared to before. Had this marriage already reached its end? Chapter 4. I stared at the cake inside the oven. The clock hands pointed to 7 in the evening. Daisy lay on the dining table with her chin propped in her hands, colorful crayons and a birthday card scattered in front of her. "Daddy, when is Mommy coming home?" Daisy drew a crooked heart on the card with a blue crayon. "I want to give Mommy a surprise." I wiped the flour off my hands and checked my phone. No new messages. 3 days ago, Willow did say she might come home late today. But last night, she promised she'd try her best to make it for dinner, since today was her birthday. I gently stroked my daughter's soft hair. "Mommy is busy with work. Let's wait a little longer. Want to practice the birthday song you're going to sing for her?" Daisy hopped down from the chair and nodded excitedly. I opened the recording app on my phone. She stood up straight and sang the whole birthday song in her sweet little voice, adding, "Mommy, I love you," at the end. I pressed save, a wave of bitterness rising in my chest. This was already the 3rd time this week that a surprise Daisy prepared for Willow had fallen through. The clay vase she made in Monday's art class. Willow barely glanced at it before rushing out the door. On Wednesday, Daisy learned to write the word, "Mommy," and waited excitedly until she fell asleep, but Willow never came home in time to see it. The timer beeped. I pulled the freshly baked cake out of the oven. I had taken half a day off and followed an online recipe to make Willow's favorite Black Forest cake. It wasn't perfect, but the cream was whipped and the cherry filling was ready. At exactly 8 o'clock, my phone finally buzzed. It was a message from Willow. "George, a last-minute international video meeting came up. President Ito arranged a call with investors in Silicon Valley. I probably won't make it back. You two eat first, don't wait for me." I stared at the screen, fingers hovering over the keyboard, not knowing what to reply. Daisy's hopeful eyes stabbed straight into my heart. "Sweetheart," I knelt down so we were eye to eye. "Mommy has something really important to do at work. She might not be coming home for dinner." Daisy's little mouth trembled, tears welling up. But we said." "I know." I pulled her into my arms. "How about this? Daddy will take you to Mommy's favorite restaurant. We'll get her favorite tiramisu to go and celebrate when she comes back, okay?" Daisy nodded reluctantly, gripping the birthday card tightly in her tiny hand. Half an hour later, I walked into La Dolce Vita with Daisy. This was the restaurant we went to every anniversary. Willow always said the tiramisu reminded her of the one she had in Venice during our honeymoon. Mr. Wang, long time no see, the owner, Marco, greeted us warmly. "A table for the whole family today?" I forced a smile. "Just me and my daughter. We'll take 2 desserts to go." Marco nodded knowingly and led us to a small windowside table. "Have a seat. I'll have the kitchen make it fresh." Daisy leaned against the window, then tugged my sleeve. "Daddy, is that Mommy over there?" I followed her gaze. In a semi-private booth at the back of the restaurant, Willow was holding a glass of red wine. Sitting across from her was Makoto, dressed sharp in a tailored suit. Willow wore a deep red dress I'd never seen before. Her softly curled hair fell over her shoulders, and under the candlelight, she looked stunning, almost unreal. Makoto leaned forward slightly, his fingers brushing her wrist like it was accidental. They were both smiling, intimate, familiar smiles. My blood went ice cold. I quickly blocked Daisy's view. "That's not Mommy, sweetheart. You're mistaken." "It is Mommy," Daisy insisted, already sliding off her chair. "I'm going to find Mommy." I scooped her up before she could stand. Daisy, sweetheart, mommy is working. We can't interrupt her. I rushed to the counter. Marco, we'll come back for the desserts another day. Something urgent came up. The night breeze brushed against my burning cheeks as we stepped outside. Daisy sobbed in my arms. Why was mommy eating with someone else? Today is her birthday? I held her tightly, not knowing how to answer. I walked home on autopilot, bathed Daisy, read her a bedtime story. I looked at her quietly. There was still lipstick on her lips, smudged at the edges. A faint smell of red wine and men's cologne clung to her, not the perfume she usually wore. My voice was scary calm. Daisy waited for you until 10. She made a birthday card herself. She practiced the birthday song for a whole week. A flash of guilt crossed Willow's face, but it was quickly replaced by defensiveness. I didn't expect the meeting to run that late. President Ito said since I missed dinner, he should at least treat me to a birthday meal at La Dolce Vita. I laughed. That laugh made Willow stiffen. What a coincidence, I said. I took Daisy there to buy your favorite tiramisu. And there you were, having a candlelight dinner with Makoto. Willow's face went pale. You saw us? Daisy recognized you. I stood up and stepped toward her. And I had to lie to our 5-year-old daughter, tell her she was wrong, because I had no idea how to explain why her mother would rather spend her birthday with another man than come home to the surprise she made. That's not what happened. Willow's voice rose. It was just a work dinner. Makoto introduced me to some important investors. This is huge for my career. Enough. I cut her off, my voice low but heavy. 7 years, Willow. It's always work, career, opportunities. I get your ambition. I've supported you every step. But today was your birthday. Daisy has been preparing for it since last week, and you. My throat tightened. The image of Makoto touching her wrist under the candlelight flashed in my mind. Willow's phone suddenly rang. She glanced at the screen and instinctively turned away from me. That tiny move cut deeper than anything else. Go ahead, I said, walking toward the bedroom. Don't keep your important investors waiting. I'll sleep with Daisy tonight. Happy birthday, Willow. She stood frozen, the phone vibrating in her hand, watching my back disappear down the hallway, finally realizing something had broken for good tonight. The next morning, I made breakfast like usual and took Daisy to kindergarten. Willow was home for once, but we barely spoke. When I came back, she was already gone. On the dining table, she'd left a note. I'll come home early tonight. We need to talk. I tossed it straight into the trash. At the office, I handled emails on autopilot. The system optimization project was in its final sprint, but I couldn't focus. Last night replayed in my head. Willow's smile under candlelight, Makoto's touch, Daisy's crushed little heart. Director Wang. I looked up. Anna Sue stood at my office door holding a stack of documents. She wore a simple white blouse and a black pencil skirt, hair neatly tied back, clean, sharp, professional vibes. The testing report is out. There are a few results I'd like to review with you, she said. I nodded and motioned for her to sit. Anna quickly pointed out several system bottlenecks and suggested optimization solutions. Her technical insight was razor sharp. Have you worked on similar projects before? I asked. She smiled faintly. I worked as an automation test engineer in Silicon Valley for 3 years. After coming back, I realized local companies still don't take testing seriously enough. We talked for almost an hour without noticing. System architecture, algorithms, performance tuning. I realized how long it had been since I'd had a conversation like this. Ever since Willow's career took off, I'd cut back on overtime and business trips, slowly drifting away from the technical world. As we wrapped up, Anna suddenly asked, Director Wang, may I ask, are you dealing with something troubling? I froze. Why do you ask? Professional instinct. She pointed to her eyes. Test engineers are trained to spot anomalies. You were fine during the discussion, but your gaze kept drifting, and your fingers tapped the desk about 120 times per minute. That's classic anxiety. I didn't know whether to be impressed or embarrassed. Anna stood up. Sorry. That crossed a line. I just thought saying it out loud might help. I'll bring the revised testing plan tomorrow. As she turned to leave, I suddenly asked, "Do you believe someone can really separate work and life?" She paused, thought for a few seconds, then said, "In theory, yes. In reality? Rarely. Time isn't divisible. Give more to one side, and the other always loses." She hesitated, then added, "My father was a workaholic. He missed most of my childhood. Now he tries to make up for it, but some things, once missed, are gone forever." Her calm words hit harder than I expected. After work, I didn't go home. I drove to the kindergarten and sat in the car, watching Daisy play with her friends. When she spotted me, she ran straight into my arms. "Daddy, my teacher praised my drawing today." She waved a piece of paper excitedly. "I drew our family at the zoo." I looked at the 3 stick figures holding hands and felt my throat tighten. I folded the drawing carefully and slipped it into my inner pocket. "It's beautiful," I said. "Let's show it to Mommy when we get home, okay?" Daisy looked up at me. "Will Mommy come home today?" I remembered Willow's note. She said she would. Back home, I made Daisy's favorite tomato pasta. 7 o'clock. 8 o'clock. 9 o'clock. Willow didn't come. No calls. No messages. Daisy fell asleep on the sofa waiting, still clutching the drawing. I carried her to bed and gently slipped the drawing from her fingers. Sitting alone in the dark living room, I watched my phone screen light up and fade. Nothing. At 11:30, the lock finally turned. Willow walked in, exhausted. She froze when she saw me still awake. "You're not asleep?" My voice was flat. "You said you'd come back early. Daisy waited up for you all night. She wanted to show you her drawing." Willow dropped her bag and rubbed her temples. "I'm sorry, Makoto had a last minute. No need to explain." I stood up. "I'm going to bed. Daisy has a parent-child event at school tomorrow. I already took the day off." As I passed Willow, that familiar cologne hit my nose again. This time, I didn't stop. Chapter 5. I tore through every drawer in the study. Daisy's vaccination booklet had been right here last week. Tomorrow was kindergarten's mandatory vaccination day. No booklet, no shot. I wiped the sweat off my forehead. My eyes landed on the bottom drawer of Willow's desk, the one she always joked was her girl's only private zone. "Sorry about this," I muttered as I pulled it open. The first thing I saw was a deep blue velvet jewelry box, the brand's logo stamped in gold, shining like it had no shame. I frowned. This wasn't from any brand I'd ever bought her. Inside was a diamond necklace. The pendant caught the light and flashed sharp, blinding reflections. A receipt was shoved beside it carelessly. The number on it made my breath catch. It was 3 months of my salary. Under the jewelry box were several photos. My fingers started shaking as I pulled them out. In the photos, Willow and Makoto were sitting in a high-end restaurant. Makoto was fastening the necklace around her neck. Willow was smiling, bright, real, the kind of smile I hadn't seen on her face in forever. The last photo was a selfie. Makoto's lips were almost touching Willow's cheek. I slammed the photos onto the desk, my chest rising and falling hard. I kept searching and finally found Daisy's vaccination booklet shoved to the back of the drawer. Just as I was about to close it, a hotel key card slipped out. Royal Peninsula Hotel, the gold lettering screamed at me. "What are you looking for?" Willow's voice came from the doorway. I turned around. She was still wearing the dress from last night's awards banquet, makeup smudged, looking worn out. Her eyes moved from the booklet in my hand to the open drawer, and then to the photos scattered on the desk. The color drained from her face instantly. "What is this?" I held up the photos, my voice low and dangerous. Willow rushed over and snatched them away. "How could you go through my things?" "I was looking for Daisy's vaccination booklet," I said, cold and clipped. "Now explain the photos. And the necklace." Willow shoved everything back into the drawer, took a deep breath, and started talking fast. "That was a birthday gift from President Ito. It's strictly work. He's investing in a jewelry brand and asked me to write a promo piece. The necklace was just a sample." "A sample?" I let out a sharp laugh and picked up the receipt. 38,000 for a sample? And the photos, also, for work? That was just a polite thank you. Willow's voice rose. You know how these industry events are. Makoto's status. And this. I held up the hotel keycard. Is this part of your industry networking too? Her face stiffened. That's from last week's summit. It was a lounge access card. All media had one. I stared into her eyes, the eyes I once knew better than my own. Now they were full of dodging and lies. A wave of exhaustion hit me. Bone dip. Willow, I said quietly, suddenly calm, do you remember what you promised me when we got married? She froze, fingers twisting. Of course I remember. No. You forgot. My voice stayed soft. You promised that no matter how busy life got, we'd always be honest. All these years, I backed your career, handled most of the housework and childcare, never complained. But I won't accept being lied to. I'm not lying. Panic flickered in her eyes. This is all for work. You don't understand the unspoken rules of my industry. I shook my head, picked up the vaccination booklet. I'll take Daisy for her shot tomorrow. You handle your stuff yourself. I turned to leave. Behind me, Willow's voice cracked. George, do you really not trust me? I didn't turn back. Trust? I thought about last night's banquet. Makoto's hand accidentally resting on her waist on stage, Willow not even noticing when I left early. In Daisy's room, she sat at her tiny desk, drawing like her life depended on it. I stood at the door watching her, and the anger in my chest slowly cooled. No matter what happened, I still had Daisy. Daddy! Daisy looked up and held up her drawing. I drew our family. 3 stick figures holding hands. The little girl in the middle, pigtails bouncing, smiling wide. My eyes burned as I knelt and hugged her. It's beautiful. Mommy will definitely love it. When will Mommy come home? Daisy asked eagerly. I want to show her. I checked my watch. 8:30 p.m., Mommy's busy with work tonight. She might come home late. Let's bathe and sleep first, okay? We'll show her in the morning. After her bath and bedtime story, I sat beside her bed. She fought sleep hard, trying to wait for Willow. In the end, she fell asleep clutching the drawing. I gently took it from her hand and set it on the nightstand. Back in the bedroom, Willow was gone. Her suitcase lay open, business outfits neatly folded inside. A note sat on the nightstand. Last-minute business trip. Shanghai Financial Summit. Back in 3 days. President Ito arranged an exclusive interview. Can't miss it. Please explain to Daisy. Willow. I crumpled the note and tossed it. When I opened the wardrobe, Willow's favorite clothes were gone, including the deep red dress she wore on her birthday last week. My phone buzzed. David, Old Wong, can you work overtime tomorrow? Testing found a new issue. Consultant Sue says the architect needs in. I replied yes. At least work wouldn't screw me over. The next morning, after dropping Daisy at kindergarten, I went straight to the office. In the meeting room, Anna was at the whiteboard, writing test cases. She nodded when she saw me. Director Wang, thanks for coming, she said professionally. Stress testing found a leak in the database connection pool. Under high concurrency, the system could crash. I studied the architecture diagram she drew. Anna pointed out several nodes. Her nails were clean, no flashy polish like Willow's, simple, sharp, effortless. I suspect the issue is in the connection release mechanism, Anna continued. A light jasmine scent drifted over, subtle, calming. What tools did you use? I asked. JMeter with a custom plugin. She opened the report. Here are the metrics. We worked through it until David burst in with boxed lunches. You two need fuel before debugging yourselves to death. Only then did I realize how empty my stomach felt. Anna snapped her chopsticks apart smoothly. No drama. No act. Director Wang, she asked suddenly, wasn't Daisy scheduled for her vaccine today? I paused. She already got it. I took 2 hours off. Anna smiled. She must have been brave. My niece screamed the whole clinic down. I smiled. She cried for a minute. The nurse said she was the bravest kid there. David stared at us. George, since when do you talk family with consultant Sue? Anna answered naturally. Kids from single-parent homes grow up stronger. I know, I was raised in one. Your father? I asked. My mother, she corrected softly. My dad chose work and left when I was 10. I stayed quiet, then said, Daisy's basically being raised by one parent too. I instantly regretted saying it. But Anna just nodded. No pity. No questions. That restraint oddly comforted me. By 8 p.m., only Anna and I were left. Found it, she suddenly said, pointing at the screen. The connection status isn't reset before release. I leaned closer, almost brushing her shoulder. Good catch, I said, typing fast. Let's test. Perfect pass. I exhaled hard. Finally. Thanks, Consultant Sue. Just call me Anna. She closed her laptop. I know you're dealing with family stuff. I stiffened. Did Daisy say something? No, she tapped her eye. Observation. Same tie for days. Creased shirts. And the way you check your phone. Like you're waiting for a message that won't come. I laughed bitterly. That obvious? Only if you're paying attention, she said gently. My father looked the same before he left. Outside, the night air was cool. Sometimes, Anna said, letting go isn't losing. It's giving everyone a chance to start over. I turned to her, but my phone buzzed. A reminder from Daisy's teacher about tomorrow's sports day. Need a ride? Anna asked. You look beat. No thanks. See you tomorrow. At home, the silence was crushing. Daisy slept, hugging her teddy bear. The family drawing was gone. I found it wrinkled in her backpack. The stick figures were bent and broken by creases, just like us. I smoothed it out and put it back on the nightstand. Sitting by Daisy's bed, I made a decision. 3 days later, Willow returned, with a Disney princess doll for Daisy and a designer tie for me. I accepted them calmly. Then handed her a document. What's this? She opened it and froze. A divorce agreement? George, have you lost your mind? I'm completely clear, I said, calm as ice. Daisy stays with me. You can visit anytime, but custody is mine. All because of one necklace and a few photos? Willow's voice started shaking. You're blowing this way out of proportion. I shook my head. This isn't about the necklace, Willow. It's about the last 7 damn years. Every single time you picked your career over this family. It's about the night Daisy's fever hit 40 degrees and you were out popping champagne with Makoto. It's about your birthday. You chose some fancy candlelight dinner with him instead of coming home to the surprise your own daughter spent a whole week making. I can change. Willow's tears finally spilled over. It's too late. My voice stayed soft but steady. I've already talked to a lawyer. You keep the apartment. We split the savings. I only want Daisy. Willow collapsed onto the sofa, the papers scattering all over the floor. Do you have someone else? That new consultant her. I let out a cold laugh. Not everyone is like you, Willow. Consultant Sue and I are strictly co-workers. I turned toward Daisy's room, leaving my last words behind me. Sign it and let me know. Until then, Daisy and I are moving out. Chapter 6. I stood outside the kindergarten principal's office, my fingers unconsciously rubbing the edge of my phone. Through the glass, I saw Daisy sitting in the corner, her small hand gripping the hem of her clothes, eyes red like she'd just been crying. Mr. Wang, please come in. The principal opened the door, her face full of professional concern. I walked in and crouched down, wanting to pull Daisy into my arms, but she dodged me, hiding her face behind a plush toy. My chest tightened hard. During free activity time today, the principal said carefully, Daisy said some concerning things. She said, Mommy doesn't want me anymore, and then she tore up her drawing. Our counseling teacher tried talking to her, but she wouldn't say a word. I looked at my daughter. Daisy loved drawing. Every picture she finished, she'd proudly show everyone. Now torn pieces of paper lay by her feet, faintly showing the outline of a family of 3. Daisy, sweetheart, I said softly, reaching for her hair. Mommy lied. Daisy suddenly lifted her head, big eyes full of tears. She said she'd come watch my performance, but she didn't. Xiaomei's mommy came, but mine didn't. My throat tightened. Last Friday really had been the kindergarten's music performance. Willow promised she'd be there, then texted that morning saying she had to fly to Hong Kong for an interview. I took half a day off and sat in the front row, watching Daisy on stage as she kept turning her head, searching for her mom. Mommy's very busy with work, but she loves you. I'd said that line 1,000 times, but this time it felt painfully hollow. I don't want mommy anymore. Daisy burst into tears. I only want daddy. I wrapped my arms around her tiny, shaking body and held her tight. Then I looked up at the principal. I'll take care of the family issues. Sorry for the trouble. Mr. Wang, the principal hesitated, then continued, this is already the third emotional episode Daisy's had this semester. After recovering from her fever, she had nightmares during nap time for 2 weeks straight. We recommend a more stable home environment. I nodded and carried Daisy out. On the way home, she fell asleep in her car seat, tears still clinging to her lashes. I parked by the roadside and gently wiped them away. My phone buzzed. It was Willow. Interview ran long. Might not be back until the weekend. Tell Daisy happy birthday for me. The gift's in my drawer. I stared at the screen, then laughed, a bitter, almost hopeless laugh. Today was Daisy's 5th birthday. I'd ordered her favorite My Little Pony cake and invited a few neighborhood kids. Willow had forgotten. When we got home, I carried Daisy to bed and tucked her in. Then I went into the study and pulled out a cardboard box from the bottom shelf, 7 years of marriage. On top was our honeymoon photo. Willow, young and smiling brightly on a gondola in Venice. Back then, she'd put work aside even for a simple homemade dinner. Under it was Daisy's growth journal. First smile, first roll, first step. Most entries had notes like mom traveling for work or mom working late. I opened the latest album, filled entirely with Daisy's drawings. I'd written the date and story behind each one. One picture was wrinkled, Daisy's first family portrait. Willow had casually stuffed it into her bag for work. It came back crushed beyond saving. She'd said, I accidentally pressed it on my desk. Now I couldn't help wondering if she'd ever cared at all. My ringtone cut through the silence. It was David. Hey, Wang, can you come in tomorrow? HQ's sending people to review the project. We need the technical director, the one they trust. I rubbed my temples. I took 3 days off for Daisy's birthday. I know, man, but this is big, David said apologetically. Consultant Sue prepped the test report, but the HQ guys only trust you. I glanced toward Daisy's room. I'll come in the morning, but I have to be back by afternoon. After hanging up, I kept sorting through the box. At the bottom was a stack of yellowed papers, the Google offer I'd turned down, records of 3 promotions I declined, and the critical condition notice I signed when Daisy had pneumonia while Willow was speaking at the International Financial Forum. Each page felt like a blade cutting deeper. In this marriage, I'd been the only one giving. The only one bending. The only one sacrificing. Late that night, I sat on the sofa, the draft divorce agreement spread out in front of me. My phone lit up. It was Anna. Heard you're coming in tomorrow. The testing report's ready. There are some technical details you might need to explain. Also, if you need help with Daisy's birthday party, I've organized kids' events before. Warmth hit me reading her message. Anna was always like this. Right timing, right amount of help, never crossing lines. I thanked her but declined. Daisy's birthday was something I wanted to do myself. The next morning, I brought Daisy to the company. She wore her favorite blue dress, hugging the My Little Pony plush I'd made her last night. She was in a much better mood. Daddy has to work for a bit. Can you play with Auntie Wang in the break room? I knelt to fix her bow. She nodded, then asked quietly, will Mommy come to my birthday party? My hand paused. Mommy is very busy with work. Oh. Daisy lowered her head and lightly kicked the floor. I know. In the meeting room, I answered HQ's questions on autopilot. Anna sat beside me, calmly filling in data. My mind kept drifting to the birthday party later. After the meeting, Anna slipped a piece of paper into my hand. There's a surprise in the break room. Confused, I walked over. When I opened the door, I froze. The room was filled with balloons. Secretary Wang and several coworkers were singing to Daisy. On the table sat a beautiful cake, different from the one I ordered, decorated with all Daisy's favorite characters. I looked at Anna in shock. A small team effort, she smiled. Chris from marketing knows someone at the cake shop. Daisy ran over, eyes shining. Daddy! Elsa and Peppa Pig. I picked her up, looked at Anna, and said quietly, "Thank you." "Don't thank me," she said softly. "I used to spend my birthdays alone as a kid. I know how that feels." There was a familiar sadness in her eyes, the kind you see in kids from broken homes. In that moment, I felt she understood me more than anyone else. The party went great. 5 neighborhood kids came. Daisy laughed until her cheeks were bright red. I sent photos to Willow. No reply. That night, after Daisy fell asleep, I sat on the balcony thinking seriously about life after divorce. The lawyer said I had a strong case for custody, with the kindergarten records and Daisy's emotional episodes. But the thought of telling her crushed my chest. My phone buzzed again. "Anna, hope Daisy liked the surprise. Kids' smiles are the most precious thing." She loved it. "Thank you. Do you like kids?" "Anna, my sister passed away. My nephew lived with me for 2 years. Later my brother-in-law remarried and moved away. But those 2 years were the most meaningful of my life." Reading that, I finally understood why Anna felt so comforting. She understood real responsibility, not blood ties, but daily presence and quiet commitment. On the weekend, Willow finally came back, carrying an expensive electronic keyboard and looking exhausted. Daisy ran toward her, then suddenly stopped and hid behind me. "Daisy!" Willow looked confused. "Mommy brought you a gift." "I don't want a gift," Daisy said softly. "I want Mommy to stay home." Willow froze and shot me a look. "What did you say to her?" "I told her the truth," I said calmly. "She's 5. She understands more than you think." Willow crouched to hug Daisy, but Daisy clung to my leg. In the end, Willow awkwardly set the keyboard down and turned to me. "We need to talk." In the bedroom, she closed the door. "Are you really getting a divorce?" I nodded. "Did you even read the agreement, George?" Her voice rose. "I'm busy because this industry is brutal. One slip and I'm replaced." "It's not about being busy," I said evenly. "It's because you chose Makoto. Not me. Not Daisy." Her face went white. "You're talking nonsense." "Royal Peninsula Hotel. Room 3206, I said calmly. "Last Wednesday night. You said you had an interview." Her lips trembled. "You followed me?" "No," I laughed bitterly. "Your credit card alerts go to my email. A couple's spa package. Real romantic." She collapsed onto the bed, covering her face. "It was just a weak moment. He appreciates my talent." "And me?" I asked softly. "Haven't I supported you every step for 7 years?" She went silent, tears dripping onto her hands. "Sign it, Willow." I walked to the door. "For Daisy's sake, let's at least end this with dignity." "What if I refuse?" she suddenly said. "What if I fight for custody?" My hand paused on the knob. Without turning back, I said, "Then I'll submit your hotel records and Daisy's kindergarten emotional reports to the court." "Do you really want it that ugly?" Behind me, Willow sobbed quietly. I didn't turn around. I closed the door softly and walked into the living room. Daisy was sitting on the carpet, staring at the brand new keyboard like it was some kind of alien artifact. "Wanna try it, sweetheart?" I knelt down beside her. She shook her head and scooted straight into my arms. "Daddy, will you always stay with me?" I hugged her tight. "I promise." The next day, I took Daisy to the downtown kids' amusement park. With the project hitting a critical phase, it had been forever since I'd taken her out to play. She was hyped, dragging me from ride to ride, and on the carousel, she laughed so bright it felt like the sun itself was spinning with her. "Director Wang? What a coincidence." A familiar voice came from behind. I turned around and saw Anna, holding hands with a boy who looked 5 or 6. Both of them were wearing Mickey Mouse ear headbands, kind of ridiculous, kind of adorable. Consultant Sue, this is, Anna smiled. My nephew Andy. After my sister passed away, I've been taking him out every week. Andy shyly hid behind Anna. Daisy leaned forward, curious. Your Mickey ears can light up. So can yours, Andy said, pointing at Daisy's matching headband. The two kids clicked instantly. Anna and I exchanged a look and naturally started walking side by side behind them. I didn't think you'd enjoy places like this, Anna said, watching them chatter nonstop. I smiled. Daisy does. After a pause, I added, and thanks for what you arranged yesterday. Everyone was really kind. Actually, Anna hesitated. It was my idea. Secretary Wang mentioned Daisy's birthday, and it reminded me of my own childhood. So I kinda took the initiative. I looked at her, surprised. Sunlight filtered through the leaves, casting soft shadows across her face. She looked warm, gentle. And I realized, this was the first time in months my chest felt calm. The kindergarten's having a parent-child sports day next week, I said without thinking. If you and Andy want to come? Her eyes lit up. We'd love to. Andy's been dying for a playmate. On the subway home, Daisy leaned against my chest, half asleep. Daddy, she mumbled, is that pretty auntie your new girlfriend? I almost choked. No. She's just a colleague. Oh. Daisy sounded kinda disappointed. I like her. She gave me yummy candy. I rubbed her hair but didn't say anything. Still, somewhere deep down, a tiny thought started growing. Maybe, just maybe, life still had a few surprises left. Chapter 7. Willow cut her Hong Kong trip short. 3 straight days of rain canceled all the interviews, so she booked the earliest flight home. On the plane, she kept replaying my expression when I mentioned divorce, calm, firm, terrifyingly final. The sound of the key turning echoed through the empty apartment. Willow dragged her suitcase inside and froze. I wasn't home. The clock read 3 p.m. Normally, I'd already picked Daisy up by now. Daisy? George? She called out. Twice. Only the fridge hummed back. She dropped her suitcase and headed to the bedroom to change. Passing the study, she noticed the door slightly open and the faint rustle of paper inside. Torch. She pushed the door open and stopped dead. I stood at the desk, back to her, documents spread out everywhere. I turned abruptly, pen still in hand, panic flashing across my face. Why are you back already? My voice was dry. Her eyes dropped to the papers. Even from afar, the title was clear. Divorce Agreement. The air went solid. Heat rushed to Willow's head. The suitcase slipped from her fingers and crashed to the floor. You really want to do this? Her voice shook hard. I paused, then closed the file. I thought we had an understanding. What understanding? She snapped. You deciding to divorce me on your own counts as one? She stormed forward, grabbing the papers. One line stabbed her eyes. Child custody granted to the father. Daisy is my daughter, she nearly screamed. Why would I give up custody? My face hardened. How about the fact you missed 3 of her last 4 birthdays? Or skipped parent-teacher meetings 2 years in a row? Or that when she had a 40-degree fever, you were drinking champagne with Makoto? I told you, that was a misunderstanding. She slammed the papers down. And who are you to judge me? If I didn't work myself to death, where would this apartment come from? How would Daisy afford private kindergarten? I laughed, cold, sharp, brutal. You think I care about that? 7 years ago, I turned down Google. Double the pay. I rejected 3 promotions so I could watch Daisy grow up. I opened a drawer and pulled out a notebook. Know what this is? Willow stared blankly. From the day Daisy was born, I recorded every milestone. I flipped it open. Her first smile. First rollover. First steps. And next to every entry, where you were. I opened a random page. June 15, 2018. The day Daisy said, Mama, for the first time. You were at a financial summit in Berlin. Another page. December 3, 2019. First day of kindergarten. You were in Shanghai. Her hands started shaking. I didn't know you kept all this. My voice dropped colder. There's more. I pulled another folder. Promotions I rejected. Conferences I ignored, because you were gone and Daisy needed one parent. I turned on the computer. This is Daisy's medical record. 17 hospital visits in 3 years. I handled 15 alone. The 2 times you showed up, once you were on a work call the whole time. Willow gripped the desk, dizzy. The numbers hit like a slap. You collected all this for today? She whispered. I shook my head. No. I thought one day, when you finally asked about Daisy's childhood, I'd be able to tell you. I laughed bitterly. But you never asked. Her tears finally broke loose. This isn't fair. You never told me you gave up so much. I did, I said, exhausted. Every time you said, just wait, after this project, next time. 7 years passed. I don't believe in next time anymore. She collapsed into the chair. Then she noticed the photo on the desk, me, Daisy, and Anna at the amusement park. Daisy stood between us, holding both our hands, smiling like pure sunshine. Is it her? Willow snapped. You're divorcing me for that woman? My expression went blank. She's just a colleague. Then, honestly, I added, but she's probably spent more time actually playing with Daisy than you have. That line wrecked her. She jumped up, swept the photo off the desk. I won't sign. Daisy is my daughter. You won't replace me. Replace you? I snapped. When were you ever really there? Her first family drawing. You crumpled it into your bag. The Mother's Day card, forgotten in your office. And when she had a 40-degree fever, you were with another man. It wasn't a date, it was work. Willow screamed, even hearing the guilt herself. I sighed, picked up the photo, and placed it gently in the drawer. I've arranged a place. Daisy and I move tomorrow. The lawyer will contact you. You can't. Willow grabbed my arm, nails digging in. Give me one more chance, I can change. I pulled away slowly. It's too late. Trust is like glass. Once it shatters, it never fits the same. She dropped to her knees, clinging to my leg. Please, don't take Daisy, she's all I have. I froze. For a second I almost gave in. Then Daisy's voice echoed, Mommy doesn't want me anymore. I stepped back. If you fight for custody, we'll see each other in court. But think about Daisy. She needs stability, not a legal war. Willow collapsed on the floor, makeup ruined, pride gone. Watching me calmly organize documents, she finally realized. The man who once bent to her will now looked at her with nothing but pity. Did you ever love me? She asked hoarsely. I paused. I loved you deeply. But love takes 2 people. I held on alone for too long. I'm empty. I grabbed my laptop and files. Tomorrow after school, Daisy comes with me. The door closed, not loud, but it thundered in her ears. She knelt there, finally understanding she might lose everything. Hours later, she stumbled into Daisy's room. Pink bed. Prints. Drawings. Most showed 3 people. The newest, just Daddy and Daisy. She sat on the bed, hugged Daisy's pillow, breathing in the milky scent. Tears soaked the fabric. In the drawer she found crumpled notes. I want Mommy. Why doesn't Mommy come home? I love Mommy. Her chest twisted painfully. She curled up and cried like a child. At 10 p.m., her phone rang. Makoto. What is it? She snapped. Willow. I heard you're back early. Perfect timing. There's a private cocktail event. How many times did we sleep together? She cut in. Silence. 3? 4? Her voice was terrifyingly calm. Was it worth my marriage? My daughter? Willow calmed down. She hung up. Makoto's tone suddenly turned careful. Did George find out? I can explain. No need. Willow let out a cold, bitter laugh. I finally get it now. You never respected me, did you? I was just another trophy to you. Another finance reporter you managed to bag. That's bullshit. Makoto snapped, irritation leaking through now that he'd been exposed. I thought we were just adults playing around. Willow hung up without another word and tossed her phone aside. She walked into the bedroom, the one that had once belonged to me and her, and stared at the wedding photo on the wall. In it she wore a white wedding dress, smiling brightly. George looked at her like she was his whole world. She suddenly remembered what I whispered to her on our wedding day. No matter how busy we get, we have to remember why we started. Willow dropped to her knees beside the bed, burying her face in the sheets. There wasn't a single trace of my scent left. Only then did it hit her. This marriage hadn't died all at once. It was slowly suffocated, day after day, by her neglect and selfishness. And by the time she finally woke up, George was already long gone. Chapter 8. Willow stood in front of a children's clothing store window, staring at a light blue dress inside. Blue was Daisy's favorite color, and the dress had My Little Pony printed all over it, exactly the kind she loved. The shop assistant had glanced at her 3 times already, clearly confused. Finally, Willow pushed the door open and walked in. This dress, size 110. Please wrap it up. She pointed at the display, then grabbed a matching set of hair accessories and socks. And these too. While paying, she noticed a set of parent-child t-shirts beside the counter. She hesitated for a second, then grabbed the pair labeled Best Mom in the World and Best Little One Ever, and placed them on the counter. The shopping bag dug red marks into her wrist, but she didn't feel a thing. It had been 2 weeks since I moved out with Daisy. Willow had tried calling, texting, even waiting outside the kindergarten, but I kept my distance. Polite but firm. Daisy was always excited to see her, but that excitement came with a cautious fear, like Mommy might disappear again at any moment. That fear stabbed straight into Willow's heart. Her phone buzzed. She snatched it up. Makoto again. 3rd missed call today. Ever since that night, he'd been annoyingly persistent, but Willow didn't want to hear a single damn word from him. Right now, she only cared about one thing: getting her family back. Downstairs at the apartment I was temporarily renting, Willow took a deep breath and rang the doorbell. No response. She rang again. Still nothing. Just as she wondered if she should leave the gifts at the door, the elevator opened and a middle-aged woman stepped out. Looking for Mr. Wong? The woman asked after glancing at her. He and Daisy went to the park. They just left. Willow thanked her and rushed downstairs. The early summer sunlight burned her eyes. She remembered a small park nearby. Daisy loved the swings there. There weren't many people around, and she spotted George almost instantly. He stood beside the swing, gently pushing Daisy as she flew higher and higher. The little girl's laughter rang out, clear and bright, sparkling in the sunlight. Willow's lips curved into a smile without her realizing it. She was about to step forward. Then she froze. Anna walked toward them. She wore a plain white t-shirt and jeans, her hair tied casually into a ponytail. She looked way younger than she did at work. When George saw her, his face softened into a relaxed smile Willow hadn't seen in ages. Anna handed him 2 ice creams, then crouched down to wipe the melted ice cream off Daisy's cheeks with a tissue. Willow stood there, rooted to the spot. The way Anna and George interacted felt way too natural. Like a real family. Daisy even grabbed Anna's hand and dragged her toward the swing. George stood nearby watching them, his eyes full of a softness and calm Willow barely remembered existed. The shopping bag slipped from Willow's hand and hit the ground with a dull thud. She stumbled back a few steps, turned around, and hurried away. Her heart was pounding like crazy, a loud buzzing filling her ears. It wasn't until she left the park that she realized she was already crying. Back in the empty apartment, she laid out the clothes she'd bought for Daisy on the bed. The blue dress. The hair accessories. The parent-child t-shirts. Suddenly, she grabbed the Best Mom in the World shirt and hurled it at the wall with all her strength. Liar! She screamed into the empty room. You're not a good mother at all. Her phone buzzed again. Without checking the caller ID, she snapped, I told you to stop calling me, Makoto. Willow. It was Editor-in-Chief Dorian. Her chest tightened. She wiped her tears quickly. I'm sorry, Editor-in-Chief Dorian. I thought it was... How can I help? What the hell is going on? Dorian demanded. The follow-up report on Makoto's exclusive interview. Did you finish it? The deadline's tomorrow. And he just called complaining about your attitude. What happened? Willow tightened her grip on the phone. I'll submit it on time. As for Makoto, we have personal issues. I don't give a damn about your personal issues, Dorian snapped. Byteon Tech is one of our biggest clients. Makoto specifically asked for you. Don't screw this up, Willow. Your chief correspondent position is still on the line. After hanging up, Willow opened her laptop and pulled up the draft. The words on the screen felt alien. All that praise for Makoto's brilliance, his so-called charm, it all looked fake as hell now. She remembered the park, George and Anna. That quiet understanding she once had, and personally destroyed. Damn it. She slammed the laptop shut and buried her face in her hands. She had to do something. She couldn't just lose her family like this. The next morning, she stood at the kindergarten gate holding a box of cookies she baked overnight. Daisy's favorite, chocolate chip. She used to make them every time she came back from a business trip. When I arrived holding Daisy's hand, Willow froze. Mommy! Daisy let go of me and ran straight into her arms. Willow crouched down, hugging her tight, breathing in the faint strawberry shampoo scent in her hair. Baby, did you miss Mommy? Yes. Daisy planted a loud kiss on her cheek. Daddy said you're really busy with work, so you couldn't come see me. Willow looked up at me. I stood there expressionless. I knew I looked thinner, dark circles still under my eyes, but inside, I wasn't exhausted anymore. Not like before. I baked cookies, Willow said, lifting the box. Your favorite. Daisy cheered and immediately took a big bite. So good. Daddy, you try some. I shook my head. It's time for class. Put them in your bag and eat them after school, okay? She nodded obediently. Willow quickly added, how about Mommy picks you up today? We can get ice cream. Daisy's eyes lit up, then she hesitated and looked at me. But Auntie Sue said she'd take Andy and me to play today. Willow's smile stiffened. I cleared my throat. Daisy, go inside. You'll be late. After Daisy ran in, Willow turned to me sharply. So you're that desperate to find her a new mother? My eyes went ice cold. Don't say that in front of her. Anna was just at the same park with her nephew. Coincidence. Willow laughed bitterly. Just like she coincidentally showed up at your office? Coincidentally helped plan Daisy's birthday? That's enough. My voice was low, sharp. You don't get to question who I spend time with. Have you signed the divorce papers? Willow's tears spilled over. George, give me another chance. I know I messed up. I can change. Too late. I shook my head. Some things break and can't be fixed. I turned to leave. She grabbed my arm. At least let me pick Daisy up today, please? I hesitated, then nodded. Have her home before 5. She has school tomorrow. Willow stood there watching me walk away. I didn't look back. I truly didn't love her anymore. Back at the office, Willow forced herself to focus on Makoto's article. The deadline was closing in, but her mind kept drifting back to Daisy. On the screen, Makoto appeared confident and polished, but now, just looking at him made her sick. Reporter Lou, how's the draft coming? Makoto's assistant appeared suddenly. President Ito wants to review it before publication. Willow forced a smile. Still revising. It'll be ready this afternoon. President Ito specifically emphasized focusing on technological innovation, the assistant said pointedly. Not personal matters. Willow got it instantly. Makoto was scared she'd expose the affair. Anger surged through her, but she nodded calmly. Of course, a professional report should focus on his work. After the assistant left, Willow stared at the screen and made a decision. She deleted every flattering line about Makoto's charm, leaving only cold, dry business analysis. To hell with him. She'd keep at least some dignity. At 4, Willow left early to pick up Daisy. The teacher looked surprised. Daisy's already been picked up. What? Willow's heart dropped. Who picked her up? Her father and Miss Sue, the teacher replied. They said they informed you. Willow didn't wait. She bolted outside, hands shaking as she dialed my number. It rang forever before I answered. What the hell are you doing? She yelled. We agreed I'd pick Daisy up today. I paused. Calm down. Didn't the teacher tell you? Daisy developed a fever. The kindergarten called both of us. You didn't answer. I was in a meeting, so Anna picked her up. We're at the hospital. Willow's blood ran cold. Which hospital? At the Children's Hospital emergency room. She spotted us immediately. I stood in the infusion area holding a flushed Daisy. Anna stood beside us holding medicine and an ice pack. Willow's heart twisted. That should have been me. Daisy. She rushed forward and reached for her forehead. I shifted slightly. She just fell asleep. Don't wake her. I'm her mother, Willow whispered urgently. I have the rights. My eyes were freezing. For 5 years, where were you every time Daisy got sick? And now you remember you're her mother? Willow couldn't say a word. Sensing the tension, Anna spoke gently. I'll go get some water, she said, stepping away. The doctor said it's just a mild fever, I added calmly. Once the IV's done, we can go home. Willow stared at Daisy's pale face, tears blurring her vision. I'm sorry, my phone was on silent. It's fine, I cut her off. You're always like this. That hurt more than yelling ever could. Willow collapsed into the chair, covering her face. She heard me thank Anna softly. Heard Daisy murmur, Daddy, in her sleep. And felt her heart completely shatter. After the 4, I insisted on taking Daisy home with me. Willow had no ground to argue. She followed silently. Before getting in the car, I turned to her. Have you thought about the divorce agreement? Tears filled her eyes again. So you can't wait to be with her, huh? I sighed. This has nothing to do with Anna. I just want Daisy to have stability. I paused. If you refuse to sign, the lawyer says we can file for unilateral divorce after 2 years. Willow felt like she'd been struck by lightning. Only then did she realize this marriage was truly over. Back home, she opened her laptop to finish that damn article. A new email popped up. Sender, David. Subject, some things about George. Confused, Willow clicked it open. Reporter Lou, I'm David, George's colleague. This might be overstepping, but I think you deserve to know this. George never told you, but last year Microsoft China offered him a crazy high-paying technical director role, 3 times what he makes now. He turned it down because the job meant constant travel, and he didn't want Daisy growing up the way he did, barely seeing her parents. He rejected at least 5 similar offers. Every single time he said it was for family reasons, but we all knew the real deal. He was backing your career. And now, watching him risk losing Daisy? That's just not right. It's unfair as hell. If you have even a shred of conscience left, please don't make things harder for him during the divorce. David. Willow stared at the email, feeling the world spin. She knew George had sacrificed a lot for the family, but she never imagined it was this much. And what had she given him in return? Betrayal. Neglect. On the computer screen, Makoto's interview video kept playing. For the first time, Willow really saw him for who he was: arrogant, hypocritical, selfish. And because of someone so damn unworthy, she'd lost the husband who loved her most, and the daughter who adored her. Tears splashed onto the keyboard. Willow deleted the entire draft and started over. This time, she wrote a brutally honest report, calling out Baidian Tech's product flaws and exposing the shady tactics behind Makoto's business practices. It might blow up her career, but at least she'd get back a sliver of self-respect. After sending the article, Willow texted editor-in-chief Dorian, I rewrote the Makoto report. It may not meet the client's expectations, but it's the truth. I'm ready to face whatever comes. Then she called her lawyer. About the divorce agreement. I'm ready to sign. But I want to negotiate visitation rights, at least twice a week. I need to see Daisy. After hanging up, Willow curled up on the sofa, clutching Daisy's favorite little blanket. Her daughter's scent still lingered on it, the last bit of comfort she had left. Outside, the sunset poured blood-red light into the room. Willow remembered the day she married George 7 years ago. It was dusk then too. She remembered what he whispered in her ear. No matter rich or poor, in health or sickness, I will love you and cherish you until death parts us. Death hadn't parted them. Her selfishness had. Chapter 9. The fountain pen hovered over the divorce agreement, Willow's fingers shaking. Ink pooled at the tip, then dropped onto the paper, blooming into a small blue, like a tear. She inhaled deeply and signed her name. The moment the pen scratched the paper, something inside her snapped. The lawyer politely handed her a tissue. Only then did she realize her face was already soaked. "The visitation rights are written as you requested," the lawyer said gently. "Every Wednesday afternoon and all day Saturday. Mr. Wang has no objections." Willow nodded, unable to speak. A corner of a colorful sheet peeked out from under the folder on the desk. She pulled it out. It was Daisy's drawing. 2 houses. One big, one small. Inside the big house were 3 stick figures. Inside the small one, only one. Beside the 3 figures, Dad, Daisy, Aunt Sue. Beside the single one, Mom. "This is..." Willow's throat tightened. The lawyer looked awkward. "Mr. Wang said Daisy's been really into drawing lately. He asked me to pass this to you." Willow carefully folded the paper and tucked it into her bag, terrified of creasing it. When she stepped outside the law firm, the early summer sunlight stabbed her eyes. Her phone buzzed. "Editor-in-Chief Dorian, Makoto saw your report. ByteDance Tech is terminating all collaboration with us. The board demands a public apology, or you're fired." Standing there on the sidewalk, Willow suddenly laughed. In one single day, she'd lost her family and her job. What a joke. What perfect irony. Back home. No, not home anymore, just an empty apartment. Willow grabbed a bottle of George's wine. He'd taken most of his things, but left the wine behind. She drank straight from the bottle. The sour burn scraped down her throat. On the desk sat her Financial Journalist of the Year trophy beside a thick stack of business cards. Makoto, Dorian, President Wang, the connections she once thought meant everything. She tore them up one by one. When she reached Makoto's card, she ripped it extra hard, like she could shred that shameful memory with it. The bottle was half empty when she staggered into Daisy's room, the children's room she'd insisted on keeping exactly the same. The pink bed. The star-patterned blanket. The half-finished puzzle on the desk. Willow collapsed onto the bed, burying her face in the pillow, breathing in the faint scent still clinging to it. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry," she whispered to the empty room, not even sure who she was apologizing to anymore. Her phone rang again. An unfamiliar number. "Hello. Is this Ms. Willow?" a woman asked. "I'm Susan, editor-in-chief of Independent Finance. We read your ByteDance Tech report and really admire your guts. Would you be interested in talking about working with us?" The alcohol haze cleared instantly. Independent Finance? But that's a startup. "Small but elite," Susan said with a smile in her voice. "We can't match big media salaries, but we guarantee full editorial freedom. Your report is exactly the kind of journalism we believe in." After hanging up, Willow sat on the floor, staring around the apartment that once echoed with laughter. The family photo still hung on the wall. She reached out, touching George's face in the picture, then Daisy's. In real life, they were already a new family. She was just the weekend mom now. Wine and tears mixed as Willow curled up in Daisy's room and fell asleep. In her dream, an older Daisy stared at her coldly and said, "You're not my mom." On Children's Day, the sunshine was blinding. Willow arrived at the park half an hour early, choosing a bench with a clear view of the entrance. According to the divorce agreement, today was her day with Daisy. In the past year, she'd never been late once, always early, terrified of losing even a single minute. Her phone buzzed. From George, something urgent came up. "Anna will bring Daisy. Noon sharp. Same place." Willow hesitated, then replied, "Okay." At exactly noon, she saw that familiar little figure. Daisy had grown taller, wearing a bright yellow dress, hopping along happily. Behind her was Anna, in a simple blue sundress, carrying a cartoon water bottle and a sun hat. Willow stood and forced a smile. "Mom." That single word nearly knocked the breath out of her. She crouched down and hugged Daisy tight, breathing in sunshine and children's shampoo. "Did you miss Mommy?" she asked softly. Daisy nodded hard. "Yes. Daddy bought me a new puzzle. We finished it together. It's so pretty. And Auntie Sue baked cookies." Willow's smile stiffened. Anna approached. Happy Children's Day, Willow. George had an urgent meeting, so I brought Daisy. Thank you, Willow said stiffly, taking Daisy's backpack. I'll bring her back at 5. Anna hesitated. Actually, George said if you want, you can take Daisy to dinner. Just bring her back before 8. That caught Willow completely off guard. George had always stuck to the schedule like a robot. Why today? Willow asked. Daddy and Auntie Sue are going to see a new house, Daisy blurted out. We're moving into a bigger home. Willow felt dizzy and grabbed the bench. Anna flushed. Daisy, we said it was a surprise. I'm sorry, Daisy's eyes filled with tears. Willow swallowed the pain, crouched and wiped Daisy's cheeks. It's okay, sweetheart. That's great news. Mommy's happy for you. Anna stood awkwardly. Willow, we're not. No need, Willow cut in calmly. George deserves happiness. And thank you for taking good care of Daisy. She clearly loves you. Anna looked even more uneasy. Daisy talks about you all the time. Her bedroom wall is full of pictures of you too. Willow nodded. We're going to ride the carousel. I'll bring her back before 8. Watching Anna walk away, Willow felt strangely calm. The pain she'd imagined for a year wasn't as sharp anymore. Mom, I want cotton candy. Daisy tugged her hand. Willow smiled. Today, whatever you want. They spent 4 hours playing carousel, bumper cars, paddle boats. Cotton candy. Ice cream. Balloons. A million photos. Later, they lay on the grass, exhausted. Mommy, look. Daisy pulled out a drawing. This is for you. 2 houses again, 1 red, 1 blue. 3 figures in one in the other. But now there was a path between them and a smiling little girl walking across it. Above it, I love both my homes. Willow hugged Daisy tight. It's perfect. Best gift ever. That night, over pizza, Willow asked quietly, Is Auntie Sue good to you? Yeah, Daisy said, mouth full. She reads stories and makes bear cookies. Daddy says she'll live with us now. Willow's hand shook. And, are you happy? Daisy nodded. Happy. But sometimes I miss Mommy. Daddy said I can call, but I'm scared you're working. That hit Willow straight in the heart. You can call anytime, she said softly. Really? Daisy's eyes lit up. Auntie Sue said you opened your own studio and you're super amazing. At 8, Willow walked Daisy home. Only George was waiting. Daddy! Daisy ran over. Did you have fun? He asked. So much. Daisy chirped. George glanced at Willow, calm, steady, fulfilled. I heard you're moving, Willow said quietly. Yeah. House with a garden. Daisy's getting a puppy. Silence. I hope you and Anna are happy, Willow said. She's good to Daisy. George smiled softly. Thank you. And, thank you for Daisy. Those words almost broke her. As the elevator closed, George added, Daisy's birthday is next month. You can come. Anna said she'll bake your favorite Black Forest cake. The door shut. Rain fell outside. A year later, Willow stood under a bus shelter, watching their window glow. She wiped her tears and texted back to work, Publish it. It's our responsibility. The bus arrived. Willow took one last look, then stepped forward, carrying her grief, her growth, and her resolve into the night.